everywhere. GBS.
Good morning, a very wonderful morning. It is indeed. This is GBS Morning Extra, coming to you live from Nairobi, Kenya. My name is Timothy Omondi. Today is the 13th day of the month of August 2019, and I'm glad that you've joined us in this morning program. If you would like to send us a comment, 211-44 is the number. You can follow this, you can watch this very episode on YouTube, and the conversation can also keep going on Twitter. Our hashtag is GBS Morning Extra. Now, to start us off this morning, a matter that will, for the next coming months or year or 2 years to the elections, set the pace of what the political scene in Kenya will be like. A national referendum to change the constitution is now a matter of when and not if, as key political parties and leaders in the country have started working on a rare unity pact that analysts say will form the basis of President Uhuru Kenyatta's succession program. It is more clear as day that the referendum calls are not a matter of if but when. President Kenyatta's wing in Jubilee Party, Raila Odinga's Orange Democratic Movement, Kalonzo Musyoka's Wiper Democratic Movement, Musalia Mudavadi's Amani National Congress, Moses Wetangula's Ford Kenya, and Gideon Moi's KANU are already reading from the same script and are pledging support for the Building Bridges initiative, which many see as the vehicle to the referendum.
You have been pouring new wine into old wineskins. The gospel tells us that new wine needs new wineskins.
The clearest indication yet of how the referendum question could read was revealed in the past few weeks when the likes of Majority Leader Eden Duale, a key lieutenant of President Uhuru's, said the formation of a prime minister as head of government is what Kenyans need to ensure equality and equitable distribution of resources.
Sasa sisi tunataka kama wafugaji tuambie mandugu zetu wa Kenya, wacha tuende parliamentary system, Kenya iongozwe na prime minister na wajumbe wa bunge la kitaifa na senate. Ule atapata wajumbe wengi, ama ile chama itakuwa na wajumbe wengi, ama zile vyama tanzu coalition watakuwa na mjumbe wengi, washikane walete prime minister. Sasa sisi tunaambia kile kamati ya BBI ya Mzee Haji, musipoteze wakati mingi, mutuambie tuwe na referendum na tuende parliamentary system of government, ili hata mtoto wa mfugaji akuwe sawa na akuwe prime minister siku moja.
Women power. Women power!
The writing was read even more clearly on August 8th when women leaders under the Embrace movement, a pillar in the Kieleweke formation of the President Kenyatta's aligned Jubilee camp, called on adoption of expansion of the executive to include the position of a prime minister and 2 deputies.
Electoral system in Kenya, characterized by the winner-take-it-all mentality and mania, has been problematic, as evidenced in the elections of 1991, 1992, 1997, 2007, 2008, 2013, and 2017. Pre- and post-election violence. To enhance peace, stability, cohesion, and integration of the 44 plus communities in Kenya, we make the following proposals and recommendations. Number 1, the expansion of the presidency and executive with more seats at the top to provide for president, deputy president, prime minister, and 2 deputy prime ministers through amendment of Chapter 9 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 to provide for functions, swearing in, removal, remuneration, and the benefits of the Prime Minister and the 2 deputy prime ministers.
Insider information has it that the 6 parties from Jubilee and ODM plan to change the constitution and are plotting to use the huge following they enjoy in the country to marshal support for the referendum expected early next year.
I want to say something last. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, the BBI people were in Kisumu recently, and I gave them my testimony of what I think should happen in the referendum. Me, I think that choice is very simple. Don't complicate this thing. Just give them 2 questions. Do you want a presidential system of government, or do you want a parliamentary system? Simple. The other things will follow. But if you confuse it with structures of devolution, I don't know what. But together with the parliamentary system, let us have proportional representation. To avoid this first past the goalpost thing. This is what has brought a lot of problems in our country.
Mimi naomba rais kwa ile referendum kama ni ya ukweli, yeye bado ni kijana, ni miaka 56, ajiuzulu akiwa na miaka 60. Tuongezee rais mmoja ingine, Kenya iende mbele.
President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga have already been briefed by the joint secretaries of the BBI team, which is next month expected to hand over to them a report compiled from the presentations by various stakeholders around the country. The plan by the two was to have all political players and leaders join hands and back the referendum so that Kenyans could have constitutional changes via consensus. But the reality is that Deputy President William Ruto's allies have shown lukewarm support for the BBI and could lead opposition to it. A source close to President Kenyatta and Raila said. The DP is on record telling the pro-BBI team and the Ekuru Okot-led Punguza Mzigo team to agree on the changes they want before he can take a stand on the referendum.
Wale ambao wamezoea kugandamiza wa Kenya.
It is not clear whether Deputy President will back the BBI recommendations or launch an onslaught against them. But one thing is clear. His foot soldiers are not mincing their words in regard to their opposition to the BBI.
Tumeambiwa kuna watu wale wa BBI wanatengeneza yao. Wale wa mpunguza mzigo wamelete yao. Nafasi ipewe kila Mkenya atoe maoni ili safari hii tukibadilisha katiba tubadilishe kwa sababu ya matakwa ya wananchi wa Kenya, sio ya watu binafsi.
Wakiongea maneno ya kurekebisha katiba, mambo ya BBI, mambo ya kupunguza mzigo. Kwanza kabisa kama viongozi wa kaunti ya Uasin Gishu, wale watu wa BBI hawakuchukua maoni ya viongozi wa county 27. County number 27, we were never consulted. Let it go on record.
Even if you were to say that you want to relook at the Constitution, then let us go back to the National Archives. There is an audio tape of the discussions by the local wananchi inside from every location in Kenya. The Kenyans said exactly what was wrong with that constitution. We know what were the contentious issues and what was not the contentious issues. So if you want to relook at the constitution, let us go to the archives. Don't pretend to go across the country, meeting in 5-star hotels and telling us you want to review the constitution.
Political observers believe that the unity between the pro-Kenyatta wing of Jubilee, ODM, KANU, Wiper, Ford Kenya and ANC could produce a new political momentum akin to the crowd-pulling orange movement of the 2005 referendum. The 6 parties are united in the argument that the current purely presidential system is not the best for a country as ethnically divided as Kenya, and that there is need to tinker with the executive structure. The Uhuru-Raila team also wants a system that could address the 2/3 gender rule and also allow the appointment of members of parliament to the cabinet. BBI got a boost last week after Chama cha Mashinani leader Isaac Ruto, who boasts huge grassroots mobilization skills, indicated he could join the movement. With CCM and KANU on board the BBI wagon, DP Ruto faces a political nightmare as the two are led by his key political rivals in the Rift Valley, and their joining forces could greatly decimate the DP's base. With the rest of the political parties joining in, those opposed to the BBI are now playing ball, and Raila Odinga is now confident the country will hold a referendum next year under the BBI. A statement by Raila Odinga reads in part, "The BBI-backed referendum will be a product of public participation through which Kenyans have given their input on how they want to be ruled." End of quote. Now, still on referendum calls, former Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama has challenged President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga to declare their interest in the proposed changes to the constitution. The former legislator now said what Kenyans need is discipline in leadership and not a constitutional change. Let's listen in.
Mimi sioni kila mara tukienda kwenye uchaguzi tunaondoka tukikimbia tukabandilisha katiba. Kitu tunahitaji Kenya sio kubandilisha katiba. Ni msimamo wa uongozi ambao unaweza kusimamia mali ya wananchi wa Kenya. Tukibandilisha katiba hata tubandilishe mara 100. Timu akamba. Arabu uongozi ni hule. Tunatafuta njia ingine ya kuiba, sio ile ya rais, ya ofisi ya rais na makamu wake sasa na mawaziri. Sasa tunaongeza waziri mkuu ambaye ataiba bila kuulizwa, naibu wake aibe bila kuulizwa. What we want is a well-disciplined leaders.
More leaders adding their voice onto the referendum cause. Former Governor for Bomet, Isaac Ruto, now wants cabinet secretaries to be appointed among MPs. Ruto says the current crop of cabinet ministers are unknown to the publics. This even as Jubilee and ODM having wooed other major political parties, including his own CCM, to the BBI calls for change in constitution to a parliamentary system that calls for a prime minister as head of government. Let's listen into this.
Mimi nataka wabunge wawe mawaziri. Ndio wawe kwa kanisa. I don't meet any minister these days in church on Sunday. Si waoni? Where are they? Huh? Where are these ministers? Nani anawajua? Huh? Tunataka jua Kamket ni waziri, tunamuuliza maswali yote hapa. Hapa. Huh? Nani mwingine Sosion? Answer all our questions here. We want you to be accountable to the people. We will be coming to your houses over the weekend. We used to go and see Kipkali Akones. We don't know where they live. We don't even know what they do. What do they do? Even if I brought one minister here, amuta jua, you would uliza mimi huyu ni nani? Biashara ya wapi huyu?
Well, former Governor for Bomet, Isaac Ruto, always puts a smile and jostles the hearts of people when you listen to him. Deputy President William Ruto on Sunday tried in vain to stop politicians from engaging in 2022 politics, even as North Imenti MP Rahim Dawood denied claims that there was a plot to scuttle the DP's meeting. Dawood led a section of Meru politicians in pledging support for Ruto 2022 bid.
Nasikitika kwamba kuna viongozi, baadhi ya wanajiita viongozi hapa, wanaweza kusema kwamba ati tunataka kumzuia Deputy President asikuje hapa. Kitu ya kwanza, Deputy President ni Deputy President wa Kenya. Hakuna mtu anaweza kumzuia kuenda mahali popote. Tuelewane hivyo. Sheitani ashindwe.
Now we shift gears from politics. We look into the war on drugs. A member of the Mombasa County Assembly was arrested on Monday in connection with drug trafficking. The Bafu Ward representative Ahmed Salama was arrested in Likoni following the operation targeting politicians and businessmen suspected to be behind narcotic trade. His arrest comes a day after Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i held a meeting with politicians and security teams. At least 18 people have been arrested so far, including the area OCS.
Ningetaka kudhibitisha kwamba jana tarehe 11 mwendo wa asubuhi tulipokea ripoti kwamba iko madawa ilikuwa inapelekwa sehemu za Kisingitini alafu ikakamatiwa pale Mtangawanda.
We are going to implement the plan, and I will supervise this myself together with the IG. We will follow it up and review it on a bi-weekly basis on how we are progressing on this matter. Because let us not pretend, and I will not lie to the people of Kenya here and start pretending that we don't know what the issues are, that we do not understand what the issues are. There is a clear nexus between the movement of drugs and the peddling of drugs in the coastal region with certain political activity with people who are highly placed in this society. Now, that time has come. There are choices to be made, and I think as government we have made our choices. Because we also have to be sincere. This thing has destroyed our children. It has destroyed our young people in Mombasa. So we cannot continue, talking to each other as if it's ordinary business. It is not. And we have lived with this thing for a long time. So we are going to the farthest extent, even if it means looking inside amongst ourselves, within the government structures we have, security enforcement, infrastructure we have, we are reorganizing all of it to address this problem. Na tumekubaliana sote, and why I'm happy today is I have raised very specific and very painful issues. Nimewauliza hao viongozi na wamesema wao wenyewe wako tayari.
Still on matters touching on leadership and the use of narcotics, Mathira MP Rigathi Gachagua has criticized Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko over calls to legalize bang. The lawmaker opposed the proposal, saying that the use of bang had negatively impacted on young people's lives. Let's listen into this.
Some of these people, and bishops, you need to pray and pray very hard for that Sonko fellow. How can he stand on national television to say that marijuana and bangi should be legalized? Sasa mtu na ni kiongozi haki tunashindwa on national television saying that we should legalize the sale and consumption of bangi in this country. I think we need to pray very hard for some of these people.
Well, still on spiritual matters, Archbishop Anthony Muheria of the Catholic Church encouraged young couples to solemnize their marriage in church. Many young couples in Kenya today are shunning the church marriage, therefore leading to lack of spiritual guidance in their matrimony lives.
Today we've had a wonderful day here at Endarasha Parish, Sacred Heart, celebrating 15 weddings. Today we have seen the tragedy of many families who are having a lot of difficulties, even some of the tragedies happening within families. And it is important that we emphasize the reason of having God in our families. This is what we celebrated as a Catholic Church, and we've been encouraging couples not to wait because of finances before they come to wed in church. Finances are not a hindrance. As you have seen, we've had families of all levels, those who perhaps have been blessed, others who are normal families who have come.
Well, indeed, societal values can only be upheld if families and the general public can keep their heart close to God. Indeed, very true. Now, we shift gears to the international scene, but to a historical play on world leadership. As part of the state visit, former US President Barack Obama gave a keynote address to both houses of the British Parliament, gathered at London's Westminster Hall. An excerpt from this speech, delivered almost 8.5 years ago, signifies a leadership conscious of human dignity and selfless service to humanity. Let's listen in to this brief excerpt from history.
We must always remember that the true source of our influence hasn't just been the size of our economies, or the reach of our militaries, or the land that we've claimed. It has been the values that we must never waver in defending around the world. The idea that all beings are endowed by our Creator with certain rights that cannot be denied. That is what forged our bond in the fire of war. A bond made manifest by the friendship between two of our greatest leaders. Churchill and Roosevelt had their differences. They were keen observers of each other's blind spots and shortcomings, if not always their own. And they were hard-headed about their ability to remake the world. But what joined the fates of these two men at that particular moment in history was not simply a shared interest in victory on the battlefield. It was a shared belief in the ultimate triumph of human freedom and human dignity. A conviction that we have a say in how this story ends. This conviction lives on in their people today. The challenges we face are great. The work before us is hard. But we have come through a difficult decade, and whenever the tests and trials ahead may seem too big or too many, let us turn to their example and the words that Churchill spoke on the day that Europe was freed. In the long years to come, not only will the people of this island, but the world, wherever the bird of freedom chirps in the human heart, look back to what we've done, and they will say, do not despair, do not yield, march straight forward. With courage and purpose, with humility and with hope, with faith in the promise of tomorrow, let us march straight forward, together, enduring allies, in the cause of a world that is more peaceful, more prosperous, and more just. Thank you very much.
Well, indeed, very powerful words there, lessons to draw from the past and from history. And as they always say, that history is actually a guide and a compass to help us understand where we are from and also where we are going. That is why this morning we took the liberty of endowing you with lessons from history. Let's now listen in to another excerpt from a speech by one Martin Luther Jr. King, a human rights activist who is known for his oratory skills, but not just that, but also for his championing of human rights during the civil rights movement in America.
All we say to America is be true to what you said on paper. If I lived in China or even Russia or any totalitarian country, maybe I could understand some of these illegal injunctions. Maybe I could understand the denial of certain basic First Amendment privileges because they haven't committed themselves to that over there. But somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right. And so just as I say we aren't going to let any dogs or water hoses turn us around, we aren't going to let any injunction turn us around. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will.
Well, indeed, very powerful words indeed to take to heart and to forge forward with. Viewer, we now take a short break. We'll be right back after this.
Everywhere, GBS.
Hello, viewer. Welcome to
Chungu Jajami.
My name is Tigist Hailu.
Hello, I'm